52-run triumph of the South Africans, who are also first-time finalists, and the India girls are world champions. After that phenomenal victory against Australia, which was a world record run chase also, this was something that was expected out of the team. But there were nervy moments and there were also very, very special moments. Someone who was in the thick of it altogether, although in a different role, but did have her arms around the cup eventually, is joining us live right now. Let's go straight across to her, a legend of the game herself, who actually brought the entire celeb quotient and the X factor into drawing the fans to the stadiums during her time when she took the field. Mithali Raj, vanakkam. Eppadi feeling?
I'm just happy, thrilled. Finally, I've been the dreams of many people, families and cricketers who've played in the past has come true. Finally, India lifts that World Cup, one-day World Cup, which all of us, for years through our careers, were only dreaming of being part of that moment, and we got to be that last night.
உங்களுக்கும் டீமுக்கும் ரொம்ப வாழ்த்துக்கள். But you put out a very emotional post. 2 decades you waited for
Well,
it.
yes. I mean, of course, my first World Cup was in 2000, and since then we've either lost out on the semi-final, we've been part of the finals for twice, and then didn't really cross the line. All those players, whoever played the World Cup, always had this aim of winning the trophy for the country, and we did get to see that last night, and it's come in 2025, but still being there in the ground, watching it live, and then doing commentary for that game. I didn't expect that moment, but the last few overs, I said I can't see this, so I didn't watch the 2 wickets which fell in the end. I didn't watch it because I was just too nervous, like why are they leaking boundaries at this time? But finally, when I heard the roar in the stadium, I said, yes, we won.
So you are also like that in those nervy moments you'd rather not watch because you feel not watching helps? Was that the thing?
Yes, because you just you've been there. I mean, when you've been a player and you've gone through those moments and experience where the match is slipping out of you, and then you suddenly feel like, is that happening now? So you don't want to sort of manifest that by watching it, so we rather not watch the game. And that's why, luckily, I didn't have my stint. I just finished my stint, and I was like, okay, let me watch. And then he was getting too nervous. I said, it's not happening. I would rather move out of the box. So I was at the stairs, just listening to the noise in the stadium. So if there is a boundary or a six, then they roar, and otherwise, if there is a wicket, there is a roar. So I know that, okay, whenever people are screaming and roaring, it's gone in India's favor.
So were the prayers happening? Were the fingers crossed and all of that was also going on while you were waiting for the roar and all of that?
Prayers, of course, was all through the tournament whenever India was playing. But yes, I think we just needed this, because every time in the World Cup, each time India went into a World Cup, there have always been high expectation and hopes, and which should be for any a team competing at that level. But then when you come back, not crossing the line sort of breaks your heart. But last night, I think it sort of soothed all that things that we felt over the years, and I just felt yesterday that moving forward, it is India's time. For a long time, we've always spoken about the invincible Australia. They're very difficult to beat, but coming years, I think India is going to top that and reign supreme for years to come.
Oh, call her up for that. Call her up, Mithali Raj style for that, isn't it? But there was that special moment. We'll talk about the match and also the run-up to the final in a bit. There's a lot that's happened over the past few years, not just through this tournament. But I want to talk about that moment when somebody was giving that cup a tight hug and lifted it. How did that happen, and how did you feel out in the middle?
Oh, I was emotional, and I had a bit of tears in my eyes, which is very, very difficult to get it out. But when they were going for that victory lap with the trophy, Jemima was there and Radha was there. They're like, come Didi, hold the trophy. I said, no, this is yours. And they were pretty insistent that, I hold the trophy. And I felt like, that's something twice we were so close to getting our hands on it. And you take pictures before the big final, the two captains, which I did twice, but never did really get to lift it. And when finally we could, as an Indian, were able to get my hands on the trophy and lift it, like, you feel that moments, all those moments that at one point which went through your mind when we were playing the finals, and it actually became a reality.
You felt good that your juniors, those who started playing under you, remembered you and also wanted you to come and lift that trophy. Wanted to share that moment of glory with you. That must have also felt nice, being respected as a senior.
Well, I think even if it didn't happen, I was very happy. I mean, for the longest time at the international level, when we talk about any team being competitive, best, it's always Australia. And you always feel like, we've been putting hard work as well. We also have quality players, we have potential players, but just because we don't cross that line, we've never really been consistently competing with the best and getting results on our favor. We've never been seen as a team that can be at the top. And that sort of, pinches us. It did pinch for years. Like, we've never got that level of respect globally. Like whenever people talk about India, oh, they're sleeping giants. They play on the given day, they play very well. They can beat anybody, but that given day is not very consistent. And now, this tournament, I felt like, they've beaten Australia, they've beaten New Zealand. In the finals, no matter which team comes, the pressure is very different. Whatever you've done through the league, it's clean. The finals is a thing, like you do, any team can beat you in the finals. And so when South Africa qualified, and when the team which restricted India under 300 at the interval, I felt like we were short on runs. But I also knew that we do have bowlers who can turn things around, but it's just a matter of those moments. And those moments we got to see in the second innings. Every wicket that fell, it had its moments.
Yeah, it did. It did. You talk about you spoke about Jemima. She came out and she was very honest about her anxiety about being dropped, what she dealt with. Did she speak with you? How would you read what goes through a cricketer who gets dropped and then you have to come back, prove yourself? You've been through that too.
Well, see, I'm sure everybody has their own ways of dealing with these sort of stages in life. But the good aspect, everybody did, sort of appreciate that she's been vulnerable. But I think here a shout out should go to the parents, because, they are the pillars in any player, like, especially for girls in our country. If not for the support of the parents, it's a different battle to continue to play at that level. If you listen to her interview, she spoke calling her parent, calling her mother, and crying out. So you do have that support mechanism, which is so important for all of us, especially when you are playing competitive level of sport at that highest standard. You need that support mechanism, which is important. And for her to sort of get dropped in a game and then come back to score that 60 against New Zealand, probably it required a lot out of her in terms of the emotional mindset, not necessarily the skill, because overnight you can't really become the best or the worst. The skill is there because you put in years and days of training in it, but it is just a switch in your mind. And probably, once you're dropped, you come back thinking like, what else is there? I mean, I've touched the bottom. Now it's only I have to go up. So it sort of sheds the weight off your shoulder. Like, okay, I got a chance. Let's see what I can do best. That's what happened with Shefali as well.
Yeah, I was about to come to that.
That's a huge thing. Like, she was destined to be part of this World Cup. She was not even in the reserves. She's not played for a year for India in this format, and she was playing a T20 format in Surat and got called to replace Pratika Rawal. Someone who's had sort of a 200-run partnership with Smriti, and then getting into semi-finals And then of all, of course, we know Shefali who scores runs,
Yeah.
but she got 2 wickets. The two
Yeah.
wickets was equivalent to probably the 100 that she should have got.
Go.
That actually turned everything in India's favor. So yes, players need to dig deep in a tournament like this. That's why it is the marquee event, the pinnacle of cricket is the One Day World Cup, because the tournament goes for about 3-4 weeks, and you have the fluctuation in your own performance, in the team's form as well. Not necessarily you peak right from the first game. Australia they dipped in the semi-final of all.
Yeah.
They've been a team with no loss so far, and then lost in the semi-final. India lost three back-to-back games, then to make come back. So everything happens in a one-day World Cup, because it takes the tournament takes 3 weeks to finish, 3-4 weeks. So it tests not your skill, it's endurance, and endurance just not about physical ability, your skill, and your mental and emotional ability as well.
Another fact is that there were always different heroes of each
Yes.
match. So if Pratika Rawal, Harman in one, there is Jemima in another, there is Richa Ghosh who wins you and plays that cameo and gets wickets. There's Deepti
Yeah.
Sharma, amazing all-round performance, even in the final, 5 wickets, 58 runs. What's brought about this transformation? Can you tell us about that? Have you been watching this closely? Were you expecting that this would happen? Has there been a transformation too, in terms of work behind the scenes?
Transformation, if you talk about transformation, I think a huge credit should go to BCCI, to Mr. Jay Shah, because he's the one who's launched and commercialized WPL 3 years back. WPL just finished 3 seasons, and we have the auction in November for the next season. But that the franchise league really changed everything for women's cricket, giving them the exposure and the experience of tightly fought games. You know, experience of being in that situation time and again, because that's what you get to see, the intensity in a franchise league. And we've seen that from all these players. You've spoken about Richa Ghosh. She's done that for RCB. You talk about Deepti Sharma doing that for UP Warriors, Jemima Rodriguez for Delhi Capitals. So when you're representing your franchise and you're in that situation time and again, you eventually find a way to deal with it. Like crunch situation, how do you go about it? If you're in that for 10 games and then you pull it off like 3 or 4 times in a franchise game, and when you're representing India in the World Cup, you're up for 3 games, you know how to go about it, because you sort of cracked it in the franchise league. And that's where I think this team really benefited, is from the franchise league. And you've also unearthed talents like Sri Charni, who's just played a 1 season in WPL. She got picked because of WPL. Kranti God, we've seen in the franchise league. So when you get to see these players and fast-tracked in the Indian team, if not for the franchise league, they would have at least taken 2-3 years to get used to the international standard. Now you don't require that much time. They've got a good prep before the World Cup. They've played England, they've played Australia at home. They've got camps in all the venues that they've played. So the preparation, again, BCCI has given them everything that they could. You know, in terms of the contingency, I've spoken that we have 18 members support staff. I'm not talking about the team. They've actually crossed, the numbers have crossed the 15-member squad.
Wow.
So then you can imagine the investment in the women's team.
Great.
And that is why the result is, of course, credit should go to the players, because they put in the hard yards in the last 2 years, the support staff as well. But credit to BCCI and to Jay Shah to actually give them everything. The pay parity he got in the same year as WPL, and being ICC chair, he also has increased the prize money for this tournament like 4 times.
Yeah.
That's huge. And that when the head of the the boards look at women's cricket on par with men's cricket, then you see that transformation. And then it's just not in the playing field, it's off the field as well.
Yeah, and the fans also. The stadium was packed to the rafters. So there has been a huge turnout of the fans. The following is as immense. Today's cricket stars, as their social media following mirrors some of the men cricketers also. So overall, there is a collective attention that's being paid to the sport. Just a quick word I wanted to get you from on Amol Majumdar as a coach. What have you observed? What a story for him. Always waiting in the ranks, highest scorer in domestic cricket, never got a chance to play international. and he leads a side to the World Cup. So his touch or feel of the World Cup is as a coach. But that's also a story in itself. Have you interacted with him? Have you seen his methods? Do you agree, disagree with what he's trying to do as a process?
I think the first time, of course, we've met in the commentary box only for IPL, and we're doing commentary, and we did interact a little bit. And then when he applied for the post of the coach as well, that was the time I was still around. He did ask me few inputs on how the team is and everything, but I think he did take some time to get his way around the team, which happens with every new coach, the dynamics in the team as well. But from what the inputs I've got from the players is that, on field in the training sessions, he's pretty calm. But, they did have few of those moments when they lost, and then you require that. You need somebody in the support staff. You need somebody to sort of pump you up when things are down. You want them to inspire and give that motivational talk, which he did, which probably I've heard from the players, and which was so important. But at the same time, standing up for them as well, because as a coach, your role is of course behind the screen, and you're preparing the players. But during the camps, one of the camps, we had an event in Vizag, so I got to talk to the players, and they were speaking about hours of batting, hours of bowling. The training session quite well planned. As I spoke about the preparation, they've prepared in Mumbai. They know that they are playing two games, the semi-final if they crack it, and the final. So they need to have the camps in Mumbai, had the camps in Vizag where they played two games. So identifying how you want to prepare for the big event. So calm person, of course, a person who doesn't talk very much in public, but he knows how to go about, since he's played so much of domestic cricket and red ball cricket. I'm just happy for a fact that sometimes, when you're not sort of meant to wear the blue jersey as a player, and you got somehow, the universe gives you another go at in a very different capacity.
Yeah.
He still wore the blue jersey, and then he managed to do that so many coaches in the past wanted to again get the World Cup for India.
You mentioned Vizag. That's also special
Yes.
because there's a stand to Mithali Raj's name. The first time a woman cricketer has a stand named to herself. How did that feel? And you feel that that's finally recognition of the hard work that women have put into cricket too over the last many years. There's a gate at the name of Ravi Kalpana. So you were there at that event. So how did that feel to see a stand of your own name?
Well, honestly, I was sort of taken back. Didn't expect that, when we start um, playing sport and when we start playing for India, yes, winning World Cup was one thing. But, nobody would have this in their dream that, okay, there would be a stand named after you in an international stadium. But when it did happen, I was quite happy for a fact that, women's cricket is finding its place. At one point, everybody spoke cricket is a men's game, and in the same game, women are finding their place, and it is slowly happening to be an equal place.
Yes.
So it's that's what it feels like. All the girls who, in the coming years, if they get to play an international game there, the girls who turn up to the stadiums, see our Kalpana, who's a local girl, they would probably also have that thing in, like, okay, there is a stand on a girl's name. Tomorrow, if I end up playing for India and do well, maybe a possibility of having, my name there.
My name on
So
this.
it's pretty much like just expanding the sort of perspective and vision of what all you can dream of.
Yeah, Harmanpreet had a post on Insta where she said cricket is not a gentleman's game, it's everyone's game, with the cup she had. So my final question to you is about Harmanpreet as a captain, what she would have gone through, because for you, oftentimes leading the team, it was so near yet so far. How do you think she fared? She's
I think,
also grown under you, and there have been ups and downs and various equations. But how would you feel? And what would you think?
Well, I'm happy for her as well, because see, when you're leading a side, you definitely want the team to do well under you, and she's also been part of the 2017 World Cup.
Yes.
She also understands the heartbreak of not crossing that line.
Yes.
But at the same time, someone who's been a very successful captain for Mumbai Indians. She sort of got her way around leading teams and having a very supportive staff, the
Yeah.
team management, and working and the build up to this World Cup is very important. And the equation between her and Amol is so important in the context of winning this tournament, is because they are, one is the captain of the players, the other is the captain of the support staff, and
Support
you
staff,
want
yeah.
both of them to be synced and to align together in getting the team across, and which we got to see, because if not for that, then it would have been very difficult. And both of them have worked through the tournament also. Starting, there were a lot of
Yeah.
chatter about the combination of the team, and finally they cracked into the semi-final, getting the 6 bowling options and then getting into the finals. So it was good to see they finally got the right combination at the right time.
Well, I'm glad to see you so happy, and I hope this happiness is there on you over the next 4-5 days, because this has made everybody happy. It's a great moment, a turning point in cricket for Bharat, and especially women's cricket for Bharat. Mithali Raj, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste. In a startling claim published in the forthcoming book, Bangladesh's former Home Minister Asaduzzaman Khan Kamal has accused the army chief Waqaruzzaman of orchestrating a coup against Sheikh Hasina and acting as an agent for the United States Central Intelligence Agency. Bangladesh's former Home Minister revealed that it was a perfect CIA plot hatched over a long period of time to overthrow Sheikh Hasina. We did not know the CIA had Waqar in its pocket. We did not know that General Waqaruzzaman was on their payroll. Our primary defense intelligence agency, the Directorate General of Forces Intelligence of Bangladesh, as well as Bangladesh's principal civilian intelligence agency, the National Security Intelligence, did not warn the Prime Minister that Waqar had decided to betray her. Maybe their top bosses were also involved in this plot. How won't they be? After all, the army chief himself was a principal plotter. When countered with what interest it serves for the United States to engage the CIA and indulge in a regime change as far as Bangladesh, well, the former Home Minister mentions Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Xi Jinping. He says that with too many powerful heads of state in South Asia, Modi, Xi, Hasina, how would the CIA operate if such strong leaders rule the subcontinent? American interests are best served with weaker governments, but there was a more immediate reason: St. Martin's Island. Now, St. Martin's Island is about 9 kilometers south of Teknaf and 8 kilometers from Myanmar. It occupies a strategic spot in the Bay of Bengal and now very crucial amid China's growing influence in the Indian Ocean and also in Myanmar. In fact, Sheikh Hasina, before losing power in a press conference, alleged that if she hands over the island to the Americans, she can stay on without any problems. Let's go across to Kulbir Krishanji, former IPS officer and ex-member of the NSAB. Dr. Anand Ranganathan joins us, and we are hopeful that Saddam Hussain, president of Bangladesh Students' League, will be, and also the Gano Adhikar Parishad, will be able to join us too. Kulbir Krishanji, are you surprised by this claim? Many are startled by it. But the St. Martin aspect we've heard, but Waqaruzzaman, who's supposed to be indirectly related to Sheikh Hasina, betraying her.
Thank you for having me here. I'm not surprised, but I do not believe the veracity of this claim.
Okay.
The fact is that the US deep state was definitely interested in having a regime change, and a lot of players, particularly the army and General Waqaruzzaman, were crucial for the regime change. But if you see his subsequent conduct, when the US and Muhammad Yunus were very keen to have a humanitarian corridor, so-called humanitarian corridor, going from Bangladesh into Rakhine state, it was he who stood firm and said, nothing doing, we are not going to get into a fight with the Arakan army, which is the de facto ruler of Rakhine state. The background is that the Bangladesh army has been allegedly raising Rohingya militant organizations like Rohingya Liberation Organization, Rohingya Solidarity Organization, ALSA, etc. They've been training them, providing them weapons with the hope that one day they will go back and reclaim their homeland in Rakhine state. Their main enemy is the Arakan army. Now, the US plan was to use the Arakan army against the Tatmadaw, to which the NSA, Khalilur Rahman, was also very keen.
Right.
But it was General Waqar Zaman who stood firm and said nothing doing. In fact, he called a general body meeting of all the officers. Nearly 1,200 officers in Dhaka were called, and they unanimously said nothing doing. We are not going to get into this misadventure. It involves foreign powers. So the fact is that yes, if you compare the position in Nepal, where the army didn't intervene, or Sri Lanka, where the army didn't intervene, it is in Bangladesh the army did intervene, but did not take direct control.
Right.
So to that extent, the interior minister saying that yes, he's a CIA agent makes sense. But I feel that he's not a CIA agent. He's acting, keeping all his bases covered so that he can act in a manner which helps him and the Bangladesh army in future.
Well, there are many thoughts for it, but Waqar was also frustrated in between.
Yeah.
My memory serves me right that within 2-3 months of Mohammad Yunus coming in, he was very upset, and he had also aired certain things that there are people who are trying to derail democracy, and I will not allow that, and I can see. And there was also a coup attempt against him. There was an attempt to try and bump him off also, which he survived because he was wise enough that this would not happen. So those aspects also remain.
Very true. But also, if you remember that he was the one who put pressure on Mohammad Yunus as a counterploy that you hold elections by December 2025. And he got the support of the BNP.
Right.
And also the Jamaat-e-Islami to some extent. So because of which Mohammad Yunus had to back out and was not able to fulfill the American so-called plans to the extent they wanted to.
So you believe that this is a little far-fetched, but there are those who believe that he should have backed Sheikh Hasina and he should have alerted her about this possible coup that could happen. Now, how did the army chief backstab Hasina? That's another point. Dr. Ranganathan, coming to you after just this small explainer. The former Bangladesh army chief revealed that Waqar tied up with the fundamentalist forces in Bangladesh to bring Hasina down. Now, the Jamaat-e-Islami Bangladesh had brought all radical forces together before this. In fact, some ISI-trained men had infiltrated into the ranks of the Jamaat, and they were instrumental in killing policemen in late June. In fact, the Bangladesh army chief, a relative of or indirect relative of Sheikh Hasina, told Khan that the army will handle the situation in the presence of the Prime Minister even after being informed about the ISI intrusion. Now, just a day ahead of the time when she would be forced to leave, there was a meeting at her residence to assess the ground situation regarding threats of agitators storming into the Gonobhavan, attended by top echelons of the government and the security apparatus of Bangladesh. The Bangladesh Home Minister had proposed that his policemen would man Gonobhavan. Waqar had said that there was no need for that. Also, he would ensure that the army would not allow anybody near the Prime Minister's residence. Sheikh Hasina had trusted Waqar that evening. The former Home Minister says, we know what happened the next day. And that's there captured on television, Dr. Ranganathan. So is there merit in this allegation that perhaps what was expected from the Bangladesh army chief did not actually turn around, and Sheikh Hasina bet on the wrong person or trusted the wrong person?
Good evening, Anand, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I speak here purely as a layman and someone who's trying to still understand what's going on in Bangladesh. But I'll say this, for someone who orchestrated and took part in a regime change, for someone who actually, you can say, perpetrated a near quasi-coup to take over the reins, this is classic brinksmanship and playing poker to, enter into the territory of bluff making so as to deny a couple of things to give the impression that, look, we are not puppets of America. This is exactly what you would do if you were to take part and perpetrate a regime change, not listen to the Americans or to the fundamentalist forces a couple of occasions, but do the big thing for them. So may I humbly disagree with the previous panelist saying that, look, Bakar is no longer a puppet or never was a puppet of the Americans because he's denied this corridor. No, I mean, everything is going exactly according to plan. And it's not just you and me saying this that gives credence to the fact that he was basically a CIA man. It's the former home minister. Now, you could say that, yes, he was also in the cabinet of Sheikh Hasina and therefore he would be parroting her lines. But be that as it may, when a home minister or a former home minister says such things with bona fide facts as far as protecting the Ganabana is concerned, at least that part of it, then you do give credence to whatever he's saying. Now, the second part is, as is what concerns me as an Indian, what are we doing? Now, Anand, two things are absolutely certain. One, that yes, of course, it was a regime change. Of course, deep state, whether it was involved or not, America was certainly involved. Now, why do they want an unstable, volatile region? I don't need to go into the politics of it. It's been going on for 60 years since they orchestrated a regime change in Cuba with a mechanized cat, if you know. That's what the CIA is up to in all the various places, 50, 60 countries. What do we have to take care about? The fact of the matter is, from Afghanistan to now Bangladesh, from north to the south, we are surrounded by unstable regimes. Either they are unstable fundamentally or through religious reasons, or in the case of Sri Lanka or other countries, Nepal, economically. What do we do about it? As far as Nepal and Sri Lanka are concerned, we don't need to worry too much about it because we don't have a porous border where people are infiltrating in and out. As far as Bangladesh is concerned, I'm afraid the water has reached above the neck, Anand, and you know it as much as I do. We are doing precious little to actually help, what can I say, to take over the situation when we have almost 500 odd kilometers still unfenced, when we have 500 odd kilometers of border districts that are Muslim majority right now and prone to infiltration. We have to step up our game. So it doesn't matter from Afghanistan to Pakistan to Bangladesh what regimes are. Of course, they are puppet regimes. But the fact of the matter is, what does India do next?
Right, and not just what does India do next. If they are supposed to be puppet regimes, then we might as well puppet them rather than some third party halfway around the world. And that is what we have to be ruthless with respect to our statecraft and protecting our interests. Kulbir Krishanji, quick word before we get a move on and talk to the other side. Look at our western borders and look at what's happening in Pakistan.
Well, I agree with you that it's a very serious situation and we have to protect our interests. But obviously, we can't do it in a TV discussion. Whatever has to be done behind the scenes. And I'm sure the people, the powers that be, are fully aware of the situation in Bangladesh and are taking counter steps. We should leave it at that. That's my personal opinion. There's no need for speculation. We have a lot of levers and we should use all of them so that we protect our interests, especially demographic change, which is a fact of life.
True. It's just that the patience that is expected is quite telling, and that is on the wane with respect to what's happening all around, and especially with elections in some of these key states. And if our demography is going to be influenced, and with that our democratic process is going to be influenced against the favor of the core indigenous people of Bharat or Bharatiya citizens, then we have a problem there, and that needs to be addressed. But we'll pause it right there as far as Bangladesh is concerned. Donald Trump, during a recent interview, made a huge revelation when he mentioned that Pakistan has been secretly testing nuclear weapons. He also reiterated that the United States will resume its own nuclear testing to keep pace with other powers, including Russia, China, and North Korea. In an interview with CBS News' 60 Minutes on Sunday, Trump said that while the US had refrained from testing for over 3 decades, several countries, including Pakistan, continue to carry out underground nuclear trials away from global scrutiny. Trump's comments mark the first time a sitting US president has directly accused Pakistan of continuing nuclear testing. Listen in.
Russia's testing and China's testing, but they don't talk about it. You know, we're a open society. We're different. We talk about it. We have to talk about it because otherwise you people are going to report. They don't have reporters that are going to be writing about it. We do. No, we're going to test because they test and others test. And certainly North Korea's been testing. Pakistan's been testing.
North Korea, Pakistan, China, Russia. They've all been testing. We are also going to test. Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey should be joining us. Tilak Devasharji is with us along with Kulbir Krishna and Krishanji and also Anand Ranganathan. Namaste. Jayan sir. Tilakji, underground nuclear testing. Trump is confirmed. Pakistanis are quiet. Absolute silent mode. The first to jump to social media after Donald Trump are quiet right now.
It's really amazing, isn't it? You see, because you cannot say these are off-the-cuff remarks, maybe, but the President of the United States is briefed. He is given classified briefings. So he knows what he's talking about, and you cannot dismiss what he says as being uninformed. So clearly, Pakistan is today in violation of the commitments it had given after 1998, that it would, follow the provisions of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, CTBT, and for God knows how long they've been testing. This has come now. So I think this put Pakistan in a very, very awkward position. And I think a lot of agencies, I'm not sure how the IMF is going to look at it, how the ADB in Washington and the World Bank are going to be looking at it, how the EU will be looking at it. That you stand in violation of your solemn promises about not testing. And Anand, how does India look at it? If Pakistan has been testing and upgrading the nuclear arsenal, it's not something that we can sit back and be in our comfort zone. But, so I think this is going to call for a lot of study and discussion within the Indian security establishment, that how do we react to this and what manner do we react to this?
Well, I
think it's a very serious.
Tilakji, the General Pandey is also with us. I'm just asking, is this a tacit endorsement from Trump? Then should it be seen that way? Or for long the Pakistanis have been waiting for Bharat to call him a liar. Now we're waiting for Pakistan to call him a liar.
I think firstly it's very strange that Trump, this entire thing about 17 minutes worth of excerpt was actually censored and thereafter released, and it has now come out after some time. But there is one part. Second is that if he knew and they have not questioned Pakistan, ignoring again at the peril of the world, which is the norm which they do. When it matters, then they look at it seriously and they talk about it. When it doesn't matter, then they look otherwise. Because actually this so-called Islamic bomb by Pakistan was made under the watch and full knowledge of the Americans. So I think what Tilakji is saying, while it is right, but we have to also understand that the international world bodies and Americans play very conveniently as per the timelines and what suits them at any point of time. So they actually are not they are themselves not liable. And in case the Americans were not aware and he's now come to know of it, I think it's a big failure on their whole control mechanism, intelligence part, while it is a failure for us as well. But surely for the Americans who have actually taken control of being a watchdog over what's happening in Pakistan, and they got their intelligence agencies embedded all over the place and they did not know about it. So these two extremes are very uncomfortable. More uncomfortable is that I'm sure Tilakji will agree that we are well aware in the increase in numbers over about 20 years. While the last testing was done in 98, there has been not a moratorium in the sense that numbers will not increase. The numbers of nuclear arsenal have been increasing quite consistently over a period of time, and they have virtually, if I'm not wrong, they have doubled over the last 20 years. I'll have to check up my facts and figures, but they have increased significantly and they continue to work at increasing those numbers.
No, they bombed Iran.
Not a good scene.
No, but they bombed Iran because they said Iran is trying to, energize uranium and enrich uranium, and they're kept to a level where it can go beyond the capacity that is required for power generation. But Kulbir Krishnji, will the Pakistanis call Trump a liar? Or will they say what Trump says is gospel, it's true?
No, they are caught between a rock and a hard place. The fact is, if Trump is saying they've been testing weapons, I'm quite sure they've been testing. And most probably they've been testing it in China, in Xinjiang, because in Pakistan it is easy to detect, while China keeps on doing series of nuclear tests in Loknor or Xinjiang or in their testing grounds. And if they've been testing Pakistan, for example, Pakistan claims they have tactical nuclear weapons. So the tactical nuclear weapons must have been tested before they are used. And so where were they tested? So there's great credibility in what President Trump says, that yes, Pakistan has been testing. So the question is, if the Pakistan has been testing nuclear bombs, violating treaty obligations, then why is it not being punished? Why is the IMF giving dole after dole? You have to walk the talk. Now that you have said, Trump, of course, was justifying why they will resume nuclear testing. In fact, in our case, what had happened was that in one particular meeting, one of our nuclear scientists, Mr. Srinagar, had said that we need more tests, and because we have only done computer simulation, we have not done real tests. But that itself became controversial, and India has never tested after 1998. Once we declared we are nuclear. But if the others are breaking the rules, I don't see why we should be sticking to the rules. We have also got to protect our weapons, and the inventory of all the countries, that is both India and Pakistan, North Korea, etc., has been increasing of nuclear weapons. That is, even CIPRI and others bring it out. So the fact remains that this is a very serious development, and the West must now walk the talk and punish Pakistan for doing nuclear tests in violation. We have never violated either the NPT or CTBT or any treaty which we have signed, and good behavior can be rewarded, in my view.
Was there a reason why we struck those air bases at that point in time at the opportune moment, and there was so much of shock and as if वो कहते हैं सांप consternation and सांप सूख गया था, होश उड़ गए सब, especially the Americans and the Pakistanis. Immediately the peace flag came. Was that something that Bharat knew, which Trump is spelling out now? But these questions are also fair. Why are rogue nations being engaged with and no sanctions on them and trade deals, etc.? Whereas pliant nations that walk the right path, are being sanctioned and taken up cudgels against. Dr. Ranganathan.
So Anand, couple of things. Just a small correction to the previous panelist. I think Tilakji, Pakistan is not a signatory to the CTBT. So the other nations are not obliged to
that was slap go ahead,
yes, and in fact it's a very well thought out comment by Trump, I believe so, but it's ill-advised. Well, all his comments are ill-advised, or maybe they're not advised at all, because all the four nations that he speaks of, that he says are conducting nuclear tests, Pakistan, North Korea, Russia and China, with the exception of China that has signed the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty but not ratified it, none of the other three are signatories to CTBT. So it doesn't matter whether they conduct nuclear tests or not. But I'm aghast by this comment, because what that means is that these four major, some of them are major nuclear powers, are conducting, according to Trump, secret nuclear tests, and the world doesn't know about it. You have even the slightest whiff of a nuclear test conducted either underground, or obviously it would be underground, not overground, and the very next minute you have various organizations in the West declaring that a nuclear test has been conducted. You saw what happened 11 years ago when North Korea decided to conduct one, and almost simultaneously, various earthquake monitoring organizations and other organizations were up in arms saying that, look, we have proof that this has happened. So how can all those organizations be silent in the face of tests conducted by these four nations? So I don't know what Trump has actually said. So because he said it, we now obviously have to, make some sense of what he said. And I think he sent it with a very, I would say, devious purpose, to be honest. As I said, Trump just cannot be trusted. He's made Pakistan as America's ally at the cost of India. And India has to wake up now, because if China, for example, as Trump says, has conducted these tests, China is a signatory to CTBT. Of course, it's not ratified it, but sanctions should have happened by now. I'm aghast that, you have the West who doesn't know or knows that China is conducting these tests, and still there are no sanctions. So, this actually goes back like a boomerang to the West, and questions have to be asked. And I think it falls in our favor. We, as our foreign policy experts, and indeed our foreign minister, need to ask these questions, that if these nations are conducting nuclear tests, why is it that the West has been silent?
No, we'll stay with this only. The other question is, Tilak Devasarji, we should also go a little rogue then. It's not just enough about asking questions. We also need to push the buttons and tell the world that you can't get away with this kind of partisan approach.
No, like I said, Indian security establishment will now have to take a call that in the light of what President Trump has said, you see, I mean, when you test, you are upgrading the impact of those nuclear weapons, right? If you already have them, you know the technology. But if you want to upgrade, then you'll probably be doing tests. But as Anand said, it's surprising that no institution that monitors earthquakes and seismic activity has been able to detect this. So are they all in cahoots?
Yeah.
Or these are some special kind of tests which are not detected by the present?
No, the
seismic
Xinjiang seismic activity and the nuclear reactors and the plants there are satellite images that have come out. There have been exposés about this, and this is 23, 24, there has been. But what Kulbir Krishanji is saying is that Pakistan is in cahoots with China and they may be joint testing there. That's a revelation. And how is it that the Americans are not did not know about that? The other thing is, sir,
but then if you knew about Chinese,
yeah,
then how come there was no hue and cry, even in the International Atomic Energy Commission or any other organization, saying that how are you doing this, even though they may not have ratified the CTBT, yet there is a certain commitment.
yeah.
Similarly with Pakistan, is not a signatory, but they took on certain commitments after 1998.
No, because is it that because with Pakistan, General Pandey, the money from IMF is going into the crypto deal, and with China, they've got so much of the American debt in their hands that they 1 month they didn't buy soya bean, and Trump reduced their tariff by 10%.
So Anand, we just had this conversation about last week or this Saturday, Sunday. Nice guys are punished, right? They are never rewarded. It is only the bad guys get rewarded. You look at the Chinese, the way they have been behaving with Trump. You saw the walk of Xi and Trump when they came out, how humiliated Trump was, the way he was, sort of dismissed at that gate. And everything fell in line for Xi and this thing. So is the case with Pakistan, and so is the case with Zelensky. So anybody who's bad and rogue is going to be rewarded by Trump administration. That is what one can be. But this was the case with the US administration always. But in this case, it is quite emphatically clear. Right. And coming on to this part that yes, why was this intelligence not given? I think what Tilakji is, what Anand is saying, that we need to actually get on with our own testing, and it should be overt testing. It may not be liked, but at least some sort of a declaration must be happening. You asked a question about why did they punish Iran. I have a theory, it may be wrong, but please understand that Iran is a Shia. This thing. US has totally leaned onto Sunni establishment thanks to the Saudi commitment and the tie which they've got for last about 70 to 80 years since the time petrodollar deal was signed. Right. So Iran is the only exception in this entire region, not only for the nuclear part, but so many other manner. There are enough radical elements, including people like Qasim Munir and all moving around. But yet the US administration continues to shake hands and, embrace them. So therefore, Iran will continue to be bashed up, but not Pakistan. who very clearly Trump has said that he, and I would like to believe, right, coming out and making such a statement out is not so easy. It cannot be just a slip of a tongue. He was very emphatic by taking these 4 names and very clear, and he paused about it. It was not that he was ranting generally what he does. So this is it. And if you think that Pakistan is not going to call out Trump, I'm so sorry. They are going to come and say, thank you, we recommend you for Nobel Prize for allowing us to actually wanted to conduct tests, and you are a great hero for us. And that may sell with the radicalized society internally in Pakistan.
Let the Pakistanis respond. They have not responded so far. वो कहते हैं ना सांप सूंघ गया, they're on silent mode right now, but they let them open their mouth. The other thing is that Bharat should turn around and say, if America, looking at the global threat and looking at nations like China, Russia, Pakistan and North Korea is going to start testing, we would also like to partner with the Americans and start testing for our own regional safety. Bharat should make that statement. We should say it openly, and since America and Donald Trump is being open, Bharat will be open too. And we will not do things behind the back, like on the sly, like nations that Donald Trump has said. Let's try and get a little more aggressive on our diplomacy and the way we are. That's a suggestion that's also coming to the fore. I've run out of time. I thank you. Thank you to all our guests. Always a pleasure speaking with you here on The Right Stand. Thank you for watching. Namaste.
बिल्कुल नर्वस नहीं हूँ, बेशक मेरे लिए चैलेंजिंग है, लेकिन मैं हर एक चैलेंज उतनी मजबूती के साथ एक्सेप्ट करती हूँ।
आपको लगता है पॉसिबल है हर घर में एक सरकारी नौकरी?
वो बोल रहे हैं, उसके साथ बता भी रहे हैं।
तो आप उम्मीद रखते हैं कि मिल सकती है?
बिल्कुल उम्मीद
अच्छा।
रखा जा सकता है।
आपने तो मुस्लिम सीएम बनाने का दावा किया था, उस पे
सुनिए, अब जिसको घर में मोहब्बत नहीं मिलती है ना, तो हम पे गिर जाता है।
अपने मैनिफेस्टो में कहा है कि अगर वो सत्ता में आते हैं तो वो वक़्फ़ जो है उसको रद्द कर देंगे।
इनकी हैसियत है क्या?
They'll evade, deflect.
I will chase, dissect.
You're choosing, demanding.
I'm confronting.
Decoding. No spins, fabrications.
I break news.
And revelations.
I track.
Pursue. I drill down. Cut through.
You trust.
Decide.
Together,
we will rise. Follow the most comprehensive coverage of the battle for Bihar with the best team in English news. Only on CNN News 18. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
The Indian Heaven Premier League, the T20 cricket tournament taking place in Srinagar in Jammu and Kashmir, involving local, national and international players, has encountered significant challenges. Some players are stranded at a local hotel, and reports suggest that organisers have fled the valley. The event, organised by a private company and sponsors, is facing difficulties after several players allegedly boycotted the matches due to unpaid dues, leading to a disruption.
Unfortunately, bills haven't been paid, staff haven't been paid, hotels haven't been paid. The hotel was instructed this morning to lock all doors and leave all players and all staff within the building on instruction from the league. Unfortunately, they have had to carry that out. We are still waiting for the balance to be paid. It's made the rest of the payment. We have come to an agreement with the owners at this moment in time to allow the players home to their families, as obviously they're not getting any money whilst they're here. They haven't been paid themselves, and it's not fair on the players being away from their homes and their families for this long.
That's quite a charge that's coming from one of the English umpires there, going on record talking about unpaid dues. She's also, in fact, claiming that all of the players have been put on these hotel arrests in Srinagar. The sponsors, the organisers have fled, and they have not paid the dues, and that's why the players have refused to be participating in that entire Indian Heaven Premier League tournament. And remember, this is not just about local players. There are international players who have come, national level players who are associated with this particular tournament, but certainly ended up giving a bad name to this entire Premier League that was announced initially, and now is facing too many hurdles, and allegations have been really bad as far as this entire tournament is concerned. If players are coming on record, they're talking about how they have been placed under arrest. They're not even being allowed to go out of Srinagar to go back to their families. My colleague Ishan Vani is now joining us on the broadcast. Ishan, that's a huge claim that has been made by the players. They've gone on record. They're talking about how they are on hotel arrest. Dues have not been paid, not just of the hotels, but also to the players.
Well, absolutely right. The problem stemmed when the league did not see so much of participation of local coming to watch. If you recall, there was a league last year which had a massive crowd. Even tickets and the stadium were sold out, and there was no one, no ticket available for them. So they were banking on the sort of audience that was drawn last year because of the international participation of players like Chris Gayle, Sri Lankan players, and also players from Bangladesh were seen that, those players were participating in that event. And now what we have seen, what has happened is that, this year when the league was going on, it did not draw a massive crowd, and players were left in their hotels, and the hotel was not ready to ask them to leave, and they were stranded in the hotel. Even one of the umpires from we are told of British origin, had to contact embassy to rescue herself from the hotel. And there were other players also who were part of that league who could not actually leave. But local players were also staying in the hotel. And this league, what we have been given to understand, that has become failure. And those who were organizing it were from outside Jammu and Kashmir, who then left J&K and have never returned. And they have to pay the players. And that's why you saw certain foreign players were disgusted by the fact that they were unpaid, that they were not even allowed to go out of the hotel. And the matches which were planned yesterday, where actually they were told that there's a technical issue that has been faced by them. And that's why, they have been told now that this league would not go on. But definitely a shameful event that has taken place where West Indian cricketer and superstar like Chris Gayle, Sri Lankan players and other international players from New Zealand were taking part, and they haven't been made, payments haven't been made, and the league has been left even without playing further matches. And the winding up of match had taken place. And even there was a sports star from the locals who had given support in terms of items that they had produced there, be the logistics and other things. They are also claiming that their money hasn't been paid, and those who are organizing it have fled Jammu and Kashmir.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
The Indian Heaven Premier League, the T20 cricket tournament taking place in Srinagar in Jammu and Kashmir, involving local, national and international players, has encountered significant challenges. Some players are stranded at a local hotel, and reports suggest that organizers have fled the valley. The event, organized by a private company and sponsors, is facing difficulties after several players allegedly boycotted the matches due to unpaid dues, leading to a disruption.
Unfortunately, bills haven't been paid, staff haven't been paid, hotels haven't been paid. The hotel was instructed this morning to lock all doors and leave all players and all staff within the building on instruction from the league. Unfortunately, they have had to carry that out. We are still waiting for the balance to be paid. It's made the rest of the payment. We have come to an agreement with the owners at this moment in time to allow the players home to their families, as obviously they're not getting any money whilst they're here. They haven't been paid themselves, and it's not fair on the players being away from their homes and their families for this long.
That's quite a charge that's coming from one of the English umpires there, going on record talking about unpaid dues. She's also, in fact, claiming that all of the players have been put on these hotel arrests in Srinagar. The sponsors, the organizers have fled, and they have not paid the dues, and that's why the players have refused to be participating in that entire Indian Heaven Premier League tournament. And remember, this is not just about local players. There are international players who have come, national level players who are associated with this particular tournament, but certainly ended up giving a bad name to this entire Premier League that was announced initially, and now is facing too many hurdles, and allegations have been really bad as far as this entire tournament is concerned. If players are coming on record, they're talking about how they have been placed under arrest. They're not even being allowed to go out of Srinagar to go back to their families. My colleague Ishan Vani is now joining us on the broadcast. Ishan, that's a huge claim that has been made by the players. They've gone on record. They're talking about how they are on hotel arrest. Dues have not been paid, not just of the hotels, but also to the players.
Well, absolutely right. The problem stemmed when the league did not see so much of participation of local coming to watch. If you recall, there was a league last year which had a massive crowd. Even tickets and the stadium were sold out, and there was no one, no ticket available for them. So they were banking on the sort of audience that was drawn last year because of the international participation.
Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. It's an incredible moment for Indian women's cricket in the country and around the world when Harmanpreet and her Queens in Blue, the Indian women's cricket team, won the one-day World Cup by beating South Africa in the finals in Mumbai last night. This is the first ever time that the Indian women's team has won a major ICC tournament. They came close in 2017, they came close again in 2022, and now yesterday they vanquished the ghosts of the past. Just like Kapil's Devils in 1983 and Dhoni's Bravehearts in 2011, Harmanpreet's Queens in Blue have made history for Indian cricket and indeed for cricket in this country. Is this a turning point for the women's game in India? Will the women's game become as popular, as rich, as famous as the men's game here in the country? Is this that inflection point? I will be speaking to one of the pioneers of women's cricket here in the country. She's been a former cricket captain as well as, of course, a fierce administrator of the game. Diana Edelji will be joining me in a moment. But first, I want to play out what were incredible scenes at the stadium in Mumbai last night, where Harmanpreet and her team created history by becoming the first Indian team to win a major ICC tournament. I want to play out reactions and some pictures from last night and what was an incredible and historic night for Indian women's cricket.
यास्तिका का ऐसे टीम से चले जाना, दैट वाज अ हार्ट ब्रेकिंग फॉर अस. एंड देन एट दैट स्टेज जब अभी बस हम अच्छा करना ही शुरू करे थे, देन प्रतिका गॉट इंजर्ड. प्रतिका वाज सो पॉजिटिव. आई थिंक सब ने बहुत हर एक चीज़ को पॉजिटिव लिया. बिल्कुल भी ऐसे नहीं सोचा कि ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है, हमारे साथ क्यों हो रहा है. स्टार्टेड टूर्नामेंट स्टार्ट होने से पहले इंजरी, टूर्नामेंट के मिडल में एक बड़ी इंजरी. आई थिंक एवरीबडी वाज सो पॉजिटिव. सब यही सोच रहे थे कि हमारा एंड गोल ये ट्रॉफी है और ट्रॉफी के लिए वी हैव टू की वर्किंग हार्ड फॉर डे एंड नाइट, और उसका रिजल्ट है अभी.
Not just because I got 100, but I think because we defeated Australia, which always we've come in close situations, crunch moments, and we've given it away. But this Indian team changed that. So I think I love that for that reason, that we defeated them, and today we are world champions. We'll just give our lives out, and you never know, magic happens.
I really don't have words, sir, क्योंकि हम ये मोमेंट विजुअलाइज कर चुके हैं. हम लोग बात करते थे, अभी हो गया है, तो अभी इसको ऐसे सोक इन करने में बहुत टाइम लग रहा है. वर्ल्ड कप जीतने के बाद वुमेन्स क्रिकेट कैसे इवॉल्व होगा, हम सब बहुत वेट करेंगे.
Now, there have been only two such instances in the past where India has lifted the one-day World Cup, and both are etched in the history of cricket in this country. The first in the series of these elite victories, the very first time an Indian cricket team won an ICC tournament, the one-day World Cup, was in 1983, the historic win led by Captain Kapil Dev, Kapil's Devils as they were known. India won the Cricket World Cup for the very first time in Lords, the mecca of cricket. That was the scene for the greatest ever cricketing triumph at that time for Team India. They beat the two-time winners and the defending champions at that time, the West Indies, by 43 runs to lift the coveted ICC Men's One-Day Trophy. Then came the unforgettable year 2011 when MS Dhoni and his Bravehearts, they led the Indian squad to win their just second ever one-day World Cup. After defeating Sri Lanka in the finals, Dhoni was the man behind ending the 28-year-long wait for India to win an ICC One-Day World Cup. He was, of course, rightfully named the man of the match for scoring an unbeaten 91. And now, for the third time in history, the Indian women's cricket team has been crowned the champions of the world, the champions of the ICC Women's World Cup 2025 at the D.Y. Patil Stadium in Navi Mumbai with their 52-run win over South Africa. Again, this has become the talk of town. Everyone from politicians to celebrities, film actors, everyone is commenting about Harmanpreet and her team and this incredible historic achievement. Let's again play out more reactions.
भारत ने पहली बार महिला क्रिकेट विश्व कप जीता है। पूरे 25 साल बाद दुनिया को नया विश्व विजेता मिला है और ये गौरव भारत की बेटियों ने पूरे देश को दिया है। आइए जोरदार ताली बजा करके हमारी इन बेटियों का हम सम्मान करें, उनका गौरव करें।
Now, none of this would have been possible without the effort that's already been made over the last few years in particular, but the returns have been speedy from the women. It was back in 2022, and this was an important marker. The BCCI at that time announced pay parity between the Indian men's team and the women's team. For the very first time, the women who wore the blue jersey, the Team India jersey, would receive the exact same match fees as their male counterparts. Soon after, we witnessed the advent of the Women's Premier League, or the WPL. It's much like the Indian Premier League, the IPL, which is now into its fourth season. It's completed its fourth season. Again, it has popularized women's T20 cricket in the country, much like IPL did with men's T20 cricket. The BCCI has been pushing for improved facilities for women's cricket, a large support staff for the women's cricket team, while at the same time seeking to make the sport more commercially viable in India and around the world, and also ensure that women players feel equally felicitated, equally feted for their successes, and rightfully so should Harmanpreet and her team be felicitated and feted, because this is an incredible feat. Like I said, it's only happened twice in the past in the history of Indian cricket where an Indian team has won the ICC One-Day World Cup. This is only the third time in history and the first time for women. Let's also listen in to Neeta Ambani, who was there at the stadium. She was with Harman and her team. And of course, right now they are being felicitated by the group, the Reliance Group. But first, I want to play out what she had to say.
Stroke of midnight, our girls have won the first ever ICC World Championship. I think you have made the whole nation swell with pride. The way you have played with courage, conviction and confidence. We are all so proud of you. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Dhanyavad and Jai Hind.
I want to go across to someone who's a very, very special pillar, edifice of women's cricket here in India. She's been a former Team India captain, a fierce administrator, Diana Edelji. Thank you very much, ma'am, and many congratulations. Generations like yours in the past have worked hard and toiled through day and night. And finally, that moment came through yesterday when Harmanpreet and her team were crowned one-day world champions. What was your first reaction when you saw that moment?
I was thrilled. I was over the moon, and the moon was literally shining. And, it was a watershed moment for all women cricketers of the past, because this is what we were looking for. And since 2017, we were just waiting and waiting. We couldn't be able to cross the line. But finally, it has happened. And I'm very, very happy. And I congratulate the team and the support staff and BCCI and ICC for it's a very great moment, and all the facilities that ICC with Mr. Jay Shah and people there and the BCCI officials for giving women's cricket a good platform. They've increased the prize money, the match fees, everything. And I think with WPL also there, now into the 4th season. I think women's cricket is on an upward move now.
You, ma'am, you've lived through, the ups and downs of women's cricket. Like I said, you were one of the pioneers of women's cricket here in this country. You also lived through the very first time that an Indian team won an ICC tournament. That was back in 1983 when Kapil's Devils won the 1983 World Cup. And you saw how that was an inflection point in men's cricket in this country. Do you think Harmanpreet's Queens of Cricket, who won the One-Day World Cup yesterday, are at a similar inflection point as far as women's cricket is concerned in the country?
Yes, definitely. But I would say the turning point in women's cricket happened in 2017, literally, when we just missed out on the winning the World Cup in Lords. It just 8 runs we fell short, and that woke everybody up and started taking women's cricket seriously, including the BCCI. So that was, I think, the turning point, and it's taken about 8 years or something now.
Yeah.
And finally, we have crossed that hurdle. We missed it in the T20 World Cup in Melbourne, where 86,000 people were watching, and the viewership for women's cricket on television is breaking all records, whether it's WPL, whether it's bilaterals. It's absolutely wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
So finally, ma'am, where do you see Indian women's cricket go from here? What's the next frontier? What's the next glass ceiling that needs to be broken? You talked about the WPL, you talked about equal match fees for men and women, which the BCCI has done over the last 3 years or so. What is next? What is the next threshold for Indian women's cricket to cross?
Well, we can't rest on this victory because we've got a T20 World Cup coming up early next year. So we have to start planning for that and win that also. I just want to keep on seeing the stars on the jersey of the women cricketers, just like the men. They have 3 and 4 stars, which I want now the women cricketers to have also.
All right. Thank you very much, Diana Edilji, and many congratulations once again. Like I said, women like you were the pioneers. They came before Harmanpreet and her time. And finally, the seeds that, Diana Edilji and others sowed back in the 70s and 80s, that's now paid results. It has really led to this crowning moment, this crowning glory, really, that happened last night at the D.Y. Patil Stadium in Mumbai. I also want to just announce, and this has just come through, Deepti Sharma, who is the cricketer from Uttar Pradesh, who had an important role yesterday. She made a 50 towards the fag end of the Indian innings, and she picked up a couple of wickets as well. She has now been appointed as a Deputy Superintendent of Police under the sports quota. This is as part of the UP government's skilled athlete scheme under the Chief Minister's skilled athlete scheme. So she's now been given a government job as a Deputy Superintendent of Police, and kudos to Deepti Sharma. She had a good night last night in the finals of the Women's One-Day World Cup. All right, I want to shift focus now from the incredible feat that happened in Mumbai last night to what's happening in Bihar. Campaigning is at the fag end of the first phase. In fact, the first phase is going to be later this week on Thursday. Over 100 constituencies will cast their ballot in 3 days' time. In fact, 120 plus, exactly half of the state will go to polls on Thursday. And that will seal the fate of either of the two alliances, the NDA or the Mahagathbandhan or the India Alliance. Yesterday in Bihar, Prime Minister Modi said that Tejashwi Yadav was named the chief ministerial face, the chief ministerial candidate of the MGB, only after his party, the RJD, pointed a katta, or a country-made unlicensed handgun, at the head of the Congress, which had initially been reluctant to project Tejashwi as the India bloc's face, chief ministerial face. He reiterated that attack today on the campaign trail again, reminding Bihar of the Jungle Raj days during Lalu and Rabri's time between 1990 and 2005. Both the RJD and the Congress have hit right back, saying that such comments do not befit the Prime Minister's office. The Congress even called it blatant lies and falsehoods.
आरजेडी और कांग्रेस को विकास की भाषा समझ ही नहीं आती है। आरजेडी और कांग्रेस की डिक्शनरी में कट्टा, क्रूरता, कटुता, कुसंस्कार, कुशासन और करप्शन ऐसे ही शब्द भरे पड़े हैं।
जिसकी जैसी सोच है उसकी वैसी भावना है और वैसे ही कहते हैं वैसे ही करते हैं।
चिराग पासवान
हो सकता है कि औरों को गठबंधन में जोड़ने के लिए उन्होंने कट्टा जो है जोड़ लगाया होगा। खैर हमको इस पे कोई टिप्पा टिप्पणी नहीं करना है, लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री जी की भाषा सुनिए। आज तक हम किसी प्रधानमंत्री को इस तरह की भाषा हम लोगों ने नहीं देखी है। कट्टे की बात करना।
All right, I want to go across now for a quick face-off on this. Mayank Moli is spokesperson of the Bihar BJP, Anshul Avijit, spokesperson of the Congress. Anshul, so, the Congress seems to have taken offense with the words used by the Prime Minister, words like Katta, Jungle Raj. Narendra Modi is not the first one to use these phrases or invent these phrases. The phrase Jungle Raj was in fact used by the Patna High Court way back in the 1990s to describe what at that point was the state of affairs in your state.
Yeah, but really, so much water has flown. What is the real Jungle Raj at the moment? Everybody knows, with the arrest of Mr. Anand Singh as well. And the complete collapse, Zaka, of law and order in Bihar with daylight murders and robberies. Nobody is safe, from teachers and advocates and professionals or businessmen. 2 ASIs were killed in broad daylight during Holi. Law and order is one of the huge problems that's actually preventing further investment in the state. And the Prime Minister talking about his vocabulary and his dictionary, he's found a new word. It's not the first time he's used the word katta, completely unbecoming of him. He's used katta, charra in this previous speech, and I think it was in Samastipur. One wonders where he's going with such a vocabulary. Is that all he has to offer to the people of Bihar?
But is it not fair? I mean, they say everything is fair in politics. Is it not fair that he reminds this new generation of what happened in the previous generation?
No, critique is fine. You talk about electioneering, campaigning, all kinds of, you go after the opposition. That is what perhaps an irresponsible or responsible government is supposed to do.
Okay.
Nobody has a problem in getting after the opposition. It is the type of usage that the Prime Minister, completely unbecoming and unpleasant of him to use such words.
So,
I don't want to comment more on it.
Okay, let me ask Mayank Moli this. What the opposition is asking, Mr. Moli, is why should the Prime Minister remind this population of Bihar, I think almost half the state was born after the year 2000, why should they be reminded of a time that happened before? He should talk about the present, he should talk about the future, he should talk about jobs for young people, why people are migrating, so on and so forth. I mean, what's the point talking about something that happened 25, 30 years ago?
See, Prime Minister was very rightful when he reminded us the days of that Jungle Raj and especially that Katta region. क्या गलत कहा उन्होंने वो दिन याद दिलाया। सर, आप तो पुराने एक्सपीरियंस पत्रकार हैं। एक दौर हुआ करता था जब राजद की गाड़ियां जब चला करती थी ना, तो एक बंदूक की नाल बकायदा खिड़की से बाहर निकाल के चलते थे इनके नेता। और वो दौर बिहार भूला नहीं है, जबकि कट्टा हो या बंदूकें हो, उन पे क्या खेल होते थे, अपहरण कैसे किए जाते थे, कैसे सीएम हाउस में डील हो जाती थी, अपहरण को छोड़ने की डील वहां से होती थी। आदरणीय लालू प्रसाद जी जो वहां पे उसकी मध्यस्थता कराते थे। ये क्या करते थे, बच्चों ने भैया मेहनत करी है, उनको उनकी पकड़ दे दो, जाओ कुछ दे दो और ले जाओ।
लेकिन मयंक जी ये तो बताइए ना कि मतलब नई पीढ़ी जो है उसका क्या लेना देना है जो 30 साल पहले हुआ था। 20 साल से तो आप ही तो हो, आपने तो वो सिचुएशन को सुधारा है, तो उसके बारे में तो बताइए।
तो सर कंपैरेटिव स्टडी तो दिखाई जाएगी ना कि कंपैरिजन तो होगा कि हम किस दौर से बिहार को कहां लेकर के आए हैं। आज जो बच्चे हैं उनके माता पिता से पूछिए, मैं खुद, हम सब उस दौर में हमने झेला है और आई एम श्योर कि सर ने भी देखा होगा, सर भी बिहार से।
लेकिन आज के बिहार में जो नए पीढ़ी की जो जरूरत है, चाहे वो रोजगार हो, चाहे वो पलायन को खत्म करें, ये सब चीजों के बारे में क्यों नहीं बताते हो आप?
सर, हमने तो अपना विजन डॉक्यूमेंट दिया ना, उसमें हमने बताया कि चाहे इन्वेस्टमेंट हो, एफडीआई हो, 3 लाख करोड़ से ऊपर का इन्वेस्टमेंट आया हमारे पास टीसीएस आ गई है, हमारे पास जारा है, पेप्सिको है, हमारे पास और कंपनी अडानी पावर आ गई है, हमारे पास लगभग 2 लाख करोड़ से ऊपर का जो कहिए जो एफडीआई आया, जो इन्वेस्टमेंट आया, वो लगभग कहिए रोड एमओयू के बाद अब कहिए ग्राउंड पे आ चुका है। और बाकी जॉब क्रिएशंस पे अगर हम बात करें तो लगता है लास्ट फाइनेंशियल 1.5 ईयर में हमने 5 लाख से ऊपर जॉब दी, 1 करोड़ से ऊपर रोजगार हम वायदा कर रहे हैं।
Avijit, the record there speaks for itself. I mean, look at the 14-15 years of RJD from 1990 all the way till 2005 till Nitish Kumar became Chief Minister for the first time. Chief Minister in an uninterrupted term. 1,527. These are NCRB data, by the way, across different governments. When UPA was in power, when NDA was in power, 1,527 cases of kidnapping and ransom. In the last 20 years, between 2005 and 2023, which is what we have the last data for, that has come down by a third to 429 cases. I mean, the data doesn't lie. The image of lawlessness in Bihar a generation ago was backed because of data such as this. And you can't dispute the fact that Nitish Kumar has changed that for the better. Today, law and order is not as bad as what it used to be 25 years ago or 30 years ago.
Nobody feels safe in Bihar, Zaka. What kind of data are you talking about? This is selective use of data. Selective use of any kind of data concerning Bihar. I mean, the question really to ask is, in the last 20 years, what have you done for Bihar? Why haven't you done what you were promised to do for Bihar? I mean, all data, whether it's collapse of law and order or all socio-economic indicators, Bihar is the worst performing of all of them. I mean, that
Bihar
is known across the board. You
double
go to
digit
Bihar.
of GDP.
नहीं, मेरे अपने मित्र से कहना चाहता हूं कि आपने 20 साल तक करा क्या? आप बात कर रहे हैं 20, 30, 50 साल की, जाइए पीछे, करिए वो बातें। हम तो हैं ना बहस करने के लिए, लेकिन आपने किया क्या? और जो भी वादे करते हैं, आप कहते हैं कि भविष्य में करेंगे। What have they done to Patna smart city?
No, but Anshul, is it your case? Are you making out the case that today's law and order situation in Bihar is comparable to what it was in the 1990s?
It's worse. It's worse because, you would expect that in Patna, at least, daylight murders and robberies don't take place. ASIs are not getting shot. An outstanding piece of data, exceptional piece of data, is the attacks on police force in Bihar, which has crossed over 1,200. I mean, if the police personnel don't feel safe and they don't in Bihar, then what?
बताइए मयंक जी, आप लोग जंगल राज के बारे में बात करते हैं। अंशुल अभिजीत का कहना है कि today's situation is as bad, if not worse, than जो 1990 में था.
It was in 1992 when Lalu Prasad Yadav was CM, and it was his quote that I don't feel safe in Bihar. मैं सीएम हूँ, फिर भी मुझे सेफ नहीं लगता है बिहार में। ये तो उनका उस जमाने का वक्तव्य रहा है। अंशुल जी जो हैं, अंशुल जी कई अच्छे परिवार से आते हैं, बिहार से बाहर रहे हैं, तो बिहार की अभी कहिए कि ग्राउंड रियलिटी शायद उन्होंने नहीं देखी होगी। अभी जो वो दौर से इस दौर के बीच का जो ट्रांजिशनल शिफ्ट है, तो आप अगर पहले देखेंगे सर, आपके जो ग्राउंड रिपोर्टर्स होंगे, आप मुझे बताइए कि आज जब 6